Well, we are out here in beautiful Derby, Indiana, reviewing a potential job for Dirt Perfect. This one is not abnormal, but also not perfectly normal because of the interesting nature of what they want. We love local customers, so let's go check this out. Well, as you can see in front of me here, we have a significantly overgrown lot, mainly underbrush, with some okay mature trees here. But the very first thing that pops out to me is we have a few widowmakers right here at the entrance of this lot that need to be taken care of to make sure that when we do clean this place up, assuming we land this job, we don't create a negative situation for the people that's going to enjoy this property. But what we're looking at here is creating an access point that goes down to an area in which is flatter. This entire thing is a slow slope down to a certain point, and then it steepens up a little bit, with the ultimate goal, customers' wants and needs and dreams, is to have a view of the river for an area in which they can come enjoy some time with family. So as you look up through here, you can see we're pretty thick on this right hand side, but we open up a little bit right here. And we also have a waterway that comes off of this top property, goes under the county road, and then carries through this ditch all the way, almost in the heart of this property, all the way down to the cliff ledge, in which I'm sure it creates a waterfall. The customer wants access and the customer wants a flat spot, but they also want a little bit of privacy. So we're not going to come in here and clean it up 100%. We will honestly, in my opinion, take out these, what I called earlier, widowmakers, leave the saplings and undergrowth that is below these mature trees to kind of create a screen or a wall that doesn't just allow people to come down this county road and see all the activities that are going on down here. They've got a little bit of privacy. So this top corner, we're probably not going to touch much of it, but we've got that widowmaker, we've got these 3 widowmakers that 100% definitely have to go. And as we work our way down through there, that significant size tree right there, basically that tree is dying. It has one limb that is surviving, and I'm not sure I would recommend leaving that tree with the owner wanting to have a gazebo just a little bit further down. So let's walk down through here, show you guys what I'm thinking. DP may change the thought process, but I feel like if we take out that widowmaker and do a nice curved entrance both ways so you can come in from either direction, stay on our side of that ditch, that should also allow us to channel any water that's going to come off of this driveway to the left, which will naturally make it to that ditch because it does slope left and down. As we get down through here, we've got a couple of other obstructions that are going to keep us from producing a perfectly straight drive, which, per the customer, that isn't necessarily what's wanted anyway. You guys can kind of see where that ditch goes that way and over here on the right as well. But if we come in right here, build this little area up, come out through this direction, take this dead tree that's broken off and is useless out of there, leave the next mature tree, clean out this underbrush, and come right down through here with this drive. Essentially, what I believe we'll be able to create is just a slow curve that kind of straightens out, comes right off the right hand side of that tree, continues on down through here, and yes, I'm weaving in and out. All this underbrush would come out of here, sneak right through this area here, and then we get down to the next tree that's questionable. But as you can see, everything just kind of opened up. It naturally opened up in this area, and we have this one mature tree here in the center. So again, if we come in right down through here, curve it right off of that tree, continue that slight curve, we can either come in above this mature tree or below this mature tree, which as we make our way a little bit further, you can now start to see just right down there, it really starts to steepen up. So as we get down here and we look back uphill, you'll notice that this contour, hello, about fell over, greenbrier, sawbriar actually. You can see that it kind of flattens out, slowly slopes again, continues on that slow slope, and then really starts to taper off. So goal number one would be to keep some privacy, but create an entrance, come just past that tree, and open all of this up in here, at minimum 20 by 20, gravel all the way to it, create a level pad for a gazebo, gravel the level pad, and have a fringe off the front side of that potential gazebo spot for a fire pit. That's goal number one. I personally believe, and this is NY Millennial's opinion, if I had a gazebo setting here and I had the mature trees on the backside, yes, that one probably needs to come out, but we could leave it. I would recommend removing this tree, which is leaning downhill towards us. So if we get hard rain and hard winds, and I have a gazebo setting here that I've spent good money on to create an access point to enjoy time with my family, I would hate it for that one tree that's already leaning downhill to come over and completely demolish everything that I just spent hard-earned money to create. So I'm going to highly recommend to the customer that we do get rid of that one tree, that one mature tree. And as you look down through here, there's several, this one is not, there's several mature trees that are in really good shape. The shagbark hickory's leaning pretty bad, but it does not create a risk for the gazebo area, which is where we're standing. Goal number two for this customer would be to mitigate the underbrush to promote the growth of the mature trees, which are doing very well. Some of them are leaning, but you can kind of see we've got a bunch of shrub stuff down in here that really doesn't matter. No, those aren't shrubs, but they're just scrub brush. And we can clean all that up with our brush cutter, which will put chips on the ground and promote growth just below the area in which we will clear for this gazebo. So that being goal number two. Goal number three, how far over the hill can you get rid of the underbrush and any trees that aren't worth keeping so that we can get a view of the Ohio River? You guys can see the Ohio River there. It is right there, but all of those treetops, underbrush tops, are creating the non-existence of a view, is how I would state that. So how far can we push over? Because right down there is a cliff ledge, which is the other reason to leave the mature trees. We definitely don't want to take any mature trees out that would create a scenario where this hillside starts to slide, as there is a state road down there, there's houses down there. So how can we open the view up to the best of our ability, but not create a negative situation for the landscape? And that's where earlier in the video I stated it's not an abnormal job, but with what is wanted, it gets a little tricky. Bringing the driveway in, creating a flat spot, no big deal. Clearing all this bottom side is where things get a little bit more interesting. And again, any mature tree that is growing well and doesn't have any issues, we would definitely leave those, because that root system is going to hold this bank really well. So to kind of point that out, we've got 1, 2, 3, then you go down the hill and you've got several white oaks, a couple of shagbark hickories, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. The leaner we would leave 12. Those two at the bottom of the ditch are going to go over on their own sometimes. So there's every bit of 20 trees down in here that definitely need to stay. We definitely don't need to uproot them. We definitely don't need to disturb that dirt. And the customer is perfectly understanding and accepting of having a view of the water with large trees obstructing the view. The other thing that I will point out, this is undergrowth. Limbs are basically to the ground. So everything you see that's short, as it grows leaves, it 100% blocks that view. Whereas all of these mature trees, in most cases, those limbs are 30, sometimes 40 feet in the air. Even that shagbark hickory down there, the first limb that should grow leaves is roughly 35 feet off the ground. Same thing with the white oak. You've got some small limbs down there. So if we get all this underbrush, which is tree tops that we're looking at, out of the way, that alone is going to open up that view quite a bit. And I let the customer know we can get in here with our brush cutter We can round all of the deadfall, all of the small to medium small trees, fall them, bunch them up, get them staged on the other side of the ditch. Since they're wanting to have a fire pit here, they could use any of that wood for firewood because they're not burning it in a wood stove. And we could clean this up really nicely, still have that privacy screen, if you will, of the underbrush at the top side, but rid of a lot of the underbrush down here on this steeper slope, which is honestly beneficial for the view, because as you go down that slope, these trees that are going to grow a bunch of leaves like this one right here in front of us are only about 7 foot tall. Well, you lose 7 feet pretty quickly, but it's still just a steep slope down through there. So if we do need to get down in there and take out any of those medium trees, we'll be able to get down in there with the skid steer and the excavator to get those bunched up and transferred to a decaying pile over here on the left. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody. I will go back to the iPad and draw this out for you to give you a bird's eye view on Hunt Stand as to what I'm thinking, which will also give Mike, Dirt Perfect, a print essentially, so he can confirm that yes, he agrees with that. That all sounds good. And then hopefully we land this job and we'll be off to the races, and you see this on Dirt Perfect's channel in the very near future, which to his very near future is like 9 months from now, but that's okay. We all accept it because he puts out good videos. So well, next step, confirm everything's going to work out, get it all drawn out on Hunt Stand, and get the customer an estimate and see if we're going to land this bid. Well, as you guys can see here, I have the property extremities highlighted in red. That is the boundary of the property, roughly, not exactly. And the orange squiggly line that you see closer to the right-hand side of the screen, that's actually close proximity to the cliff ledge that we cannot go below, as the property boundary is to the cliff ledge. So realistically, we cannot clear anything that is below the orange line. And again, that's a guesstimate. But as explained originally, I have a thought process that right off of the waterway that comes in right here, it runs down the hillside and kind of goes to the left and then comes back to the right to go back to the left again. And if you guys remember earlier in the video, I kind of stated that this ditch, an area for runoff, kind of takes up the heart of the property. So we're not gonna name this one a fence, but we're gonna call this a ditch, because that is what it is. So you can see that ditch kind of divides it up, not quite half, maybe a third. But the ultimate goal and thought process is to come right off of that waterway from the gravel. And I got to quit calling that a waterway. It really isn't a waterway. It's just a runoff is all it is. Come down through here, and as stated, we're going to have some curve to this thing. It's not going to be perfectly straight. But once we get to a certain point, I personally believe if we turn this driveway in the shape of an L, this is going to be more beneficial for the property owner, and I'll explain why once I get this drawn out, as they're going to need a parking area when family comes and stays to hang out, see the view, have a good time. They're going to need an area for people to park their cars that is out of the way, but yet allows for good access to the gazebo itself. I shouldn't call that a road. Driveway. The reason I kind of put that sock on it down there at the bottom is the individuals that want this area cleared for family time, having little fires, whatever you want to call it, they also need some access, if you will, via wheelchair. So if you can imagine, we bring this thing down from that drive. I went way too far there. Roughly 25 feet. This will start to kind of give you a better understanding of the thought process here. And I don't know if we're going to be exactly 100 feet long, but This is the entire clearing, and we will then take the clearing and turn it into a rocked area in which they can place a gazebo and their fire pit. So now we got the clearing marked. Let's go ahead and draw a shape over here off this side that's going to simulate a gazebo. It's not going to be exact. This is going to give me acres since I'm drawing an area. I'm not really worried about the acreage. I just want to get a square put in here so that we know what everything is. This we're going to put as a structure. Gazebo. And then just below that gazebo, they're wanting a small fire pit. And I can't draw circles very well on here, so we're going to go with square again. More trapezoidal, I guess. All right, so that gives you guys kind of a bird's eye view and understanding. If the individual was to enter here, they would come down the drive, make a right-hand turn, and park over in this area. Does it need to skinny up? No. I just drew some lines for reference for you guys. But this would then also allow them to back out of that spot, back over in this direction, and then take back off to go back up the hill. Now, as mentioned earlier, all of this in here, the mature trees will stay, but we will brush cut out and or remove all undergrowth and medium trees, but leave the mature trees. Call them money trees, call them mature trees, whatever you want to call them. We don't want to disturb the soil so much that this ditchway ends up jumping and coming over here and eroding all of this. So we want to make sure and keep all of this with a good root system to make sure that that area does not wash. We also have the option to come up here and straighten out this ditch if we want to, opposed to letting it curve and do all of its craziness that it does today. But I also spoke to the property owner. We did land this bid. We are awarded this work, and they're actually open to another option that I believe may work well also, and that is coming in on this right corner or bottom corner of the property, coming down through here more in a straight line, and essentially making this run the exact opposite that it currently does in this drawing. And I believe that will work as well, again, for wheelchair access, walkers, canes, things like that. They want to make sure that all family members can enjoy it. And the reason I believe this option is also viable is this side of the property does pitch towards the river, which would be to the right on the view that you see now, but it also sets a little bit flatter. It has less left to right pitch compared to the side over by the ditch, and I'm sure that ditch is the reason why it has less pitch to it. So I do believe that this area over here will allow for a little bit easier drive, if you will, because you're not going down off of a steep bank. And when I say steep, it's only about a 4-foot slope. It's nothing crazy major. We can backfill that easy. But coming around here and dropping lower to then turn and end up a little bit higher, so we would have to build up this corner as well. Whereas if we use this as our entrance, this all over here does pitch this direction, but it does not fall off this direction nearly as bad as what this one does. So they are open to that as an option. The negative to this is we would take out, should I say, a significant amount of the undergrowth in here to establish that driveway. So anybody that drives past is going to have a wide open view for a short bit, 12-foot wide driveway down to this gazebo. Whereas from this side, Most people that are coming up here come up here to check out the cemetery, which is just a little bit further up the road, talk to their family members, whatever, and enjoy a little bit of an obscured view of the river from the gravel road. So this side over here would allow for more privacy on the property because all of this undergrowth would end up staying in place. So hopefully that gives you guys a really good bird's eye view of the thought process that we have here, the two options we have for a drive, and the reasons that we don't want to take out any mature trees if we don't have to, not only because the property owner wants to keep them, but to also control erosion. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. And as always, like, comment, subscribe, turn those notifications on, and share away.